Hello. The truth about climate change is not so easy to find, and it's not so easy to determine for oneself what this research actually means, because personally I haven't done any of the Arctic research or ice core samples or any of this, and anyone I've actually spoken to hasn't either. And the problem with scientific research is that it tends to be inspired by money, that whoever funds the research tends to get the results they want. And both sides are finding data to support each opposite idea. You know, sometimes climate change appears to be occurring due to massive greenhouse gases caused by humanity, and sometimes it seems to be either natural or not affecting the way people think it should. And so both sides are very confrontational on this, and for some reason it creates a lot of heated arguments. And personally, being 30 years old and remembering how the weather used to be and witnessing and experiencing for myself how the weather is today, there is irrefutable evidence that the climate has changed. When I was little, it would snow a month before my birthday in December, and now we might get snow by the middle of January. It was an average of 75 to 80 degrees for at least half of February and March. That is not the weather pattern I grew up with. But there's a lot of misinformation about climate change out there that a lot of people do not address when they address climate change. And one of the things I'd like to point out is that it's not just carbon dioxide that's a greenhouse gas. For instance, water vapor is the greenhouse gas in the greatest amount. In fact, water vapor accounts for the largest percentage of the greenhouse effect, between 36 and 66% for clear sky conditions, and between 66% and 85% when including clouds. Water vapor concentrations fluctuate regionally, but human activity does not significantly affect water vapor concentrations except at local scales, such as near irrigated fields. The atmospheric concentration of water vapor is highly variable, from less than 0.01% in extremely cold regions up to 20% in warm, humid regions. And that's according to Kimberly Evans in The Greenhouse Effect and Climate Change. Another point to consider is that of methane. And methane accounts for 14% of the greenhouse gases contributed by humans to the atmosphere each year. However, methane as a greenhouse gas is 20 times more effective than carbon dioxide is. And although 77% of the greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, it is as though there's 4 times the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere due to the effectiveness of methane as a greenhouse gas. Also, there's nitrous oxide. Another point that ought to be brought up is that it's not only through the burning of fossil fuels that greenhouse gases are contributed to the atmosphere. There's deforestation, a common, agriculture, landfills, metallurgy and food production, sewage. As long as there's humans around using heavy industry or growing food on large farms and including livestock, there's going to be some greenhouse gas contribution by humans to the atmosphere. Now, the effect of climate change is what I think is really behind this consternation between, or the two sides getting behind climate change. And the fear of causing mass panic, you know, things like coastal areas will be flooded as time goes on and the ice caps melt, the changing weather patterns and the famine and the drought or the disease, the flooding that comes about because of these things. For some reason, governments do not want to address this and instead may use information to cover up the actual effects of climate change for those who may not be experiencing it as clearly as others. And so they're able to divide this group and that group and bide their time. However, misinformation isn't going to change the future, okay? So whether or not climate change drastically occurs in 10 years or 50 years or 100 years doesn't really matter, because climate change is here, and climate change is here to stay. That is the natural order. So my suggestion is plant some trees. Use your water more wisely. Create a compost pile. Do what you can to ensure you're not contributing to landfills and greenhouse gases through automobiles. You can ride a bike, you can walk, you can carpool, public transportation, planting trees and flowers and whatnot. There are many things that humans can do on an individual scale, because the individual net change of greenhouse gases on a daily basis is quite small. So humans can make an impact. It's just so many of them are not willing to. Or so many are willing to do it in a negative way, but not in a positive way. Thank you.